Hey back, it's me Ian. In today's video I'm going to review Carry On Sergeant from 1958. Yes, this is the start of it all. Yes, the start of 31 Carry On films, which went from 1958, this was the first one, right through to 1992 was the last one, Carry On Columbus, though there had been quite a break between that period and the last one. But yes, I've something I've wanted to do. I've got this box set with all the Carry On films in, and I thought, well, I'll just start here because, well, it's a very interesting film, very good film, very much of this period, and he's got William Hartnell starring in it. So William Hartnell, as you know, Doctor Who. Hey, yeah, what is there not to like about this? And it's just, it's a great film of its time. So this is the start of it all. It's based on a play called The Bull Boys, which was by R.F. Delderfield, and they adapted this into a script. Did Norman Hudis, also with John Antibus, so they developed this screenplay. It was directed by Gerald Thomas, and guess what? He was to direct all the Carry On films right up to that very last one, the 1992 Carry On Columbus. It was produced as well by the same person throughout this, which was Peter Rogers. He did the whole lot as well. It was made on a budget of £73,000. A low budget film, which was a success. It made over £500,000, which was great, and then this was but to be the first one of a series of films. Carry On was used because it was a military term in this film, and it just seemed to fit in the whole thing. It's basically the series wasn't really conceived because this was a success and they'd done it all and thought, oh yeah, why not? And they'd got a certain amount of praise in this. So if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, there's no Rotten Tomatoes score at all. Because I suspect the history of Carry On films is very much that they became, I think, looked down upon, some of them, particularly the later ones, and they didn't realise what a great creative set of films these are, and they're funny. Yes, there's humour which perhaps isn't quite always suited as it would be to nowadays, but it's still very funny. You watch this, and they're well put together. They had a certain length of time which they recorded these and filmed these brilliant films. You know, when you're working on a low budget, that's what you do. You have to get them all out, and they got a great cast, and of course a certain amount of actors then continued to play the various roles throughout the whole history at various times. Let me just talk about the cast. I'll start off with William Hartnell. He plays Sergeant Grimshaw. He actually he has a great film career, an early British film career. most famous for Brighton Rock, 1949, but 1957 and 1961, he played a role in a situation comedy on ITV called Army Game, The Army Game. And so that kind of fits into this. And then, of course, he went on in 1963 to play Doctor Who. The rest is history, as they say. Then we've got somebody who may surprise people, a young Bob Monkhouse. Yes, Bob Monkhouse is here. Now, he plays Private Charlie Sage. He's great in this role. It's just so complete, just so wonderful. And he is, of course, a famous comedian, writer, and he did some other acting as well. This is just his first acting role. Also became known as a TV game show host. Also as a brilliant film archivist as well, in terms of preservation of films. Really fascinating character, Bob Monkhouse. Really is. And he's in this film. And then the leading lady is Shirley Eaton. She plays Mary Sage. And, iconic role straight away. I have to mention it. Goldfinger. She's the one that gets covered in gold. What a role. She appears in two more Carry On films. Carry On Nurse and Carry On Constable. And she's great. Wonderful. Great in this role. Then we have Eric Barker playing Captain Potts, another sort of got a varied British film career and television. He's in Carry On Constable, 1960, Carry On Spy, 1964, and then there's a gap, and he's in Carry On Emmanuel from 1978. There we are. Then we've got Dora Bryan. She plays Nora. She's so funny. She's interesting. I like my Hammer watch. She's in Hands of the Ripper from 1971. Yes, Hands of the Ripper. Yes, she's in that. Obviously, it's not a massive role, but she's in there. Yeah. And she was in also a TV series, Last of the Summer Wine, which was a series that ran for years and years, probably one of the longest running series as ever. A comedy series that she was in it from 2000 to 2005. Amazing. She was in that. Of course, there is a connection there with the next actor. Next actor, Bill Owen, who's a face that you may recognise. He plays Corporal Copping. He was in Carry On Nurse, 1959, Carry On Regardless, 1961, Carry On Cabby, I love Carry On Cabby, 1963. But again, he's most famous for being in The Last of the Summer Wine from 1973 to 2000. He played Compo, which was one of the major characters on there, so he was a familiar face on British television in comedy, yeah. Then I'll get on to what I call the actors that become part very much of the Carry On team. They become the regulars in many ways. You notice, of course, there's certain ones missing, like Sidney James. He's not on this list. He's acting actually in quite a lot of straight roles. There's some quite interesting films that he pops up in. But anyhow, we won't talk about him at the moment. We're talking about this cast. Kenneth Connor. Kenneth Connor, he became very much part of Carry On films. I love his character in this. He plays Private Horace Strong. I mean, they were always good with his names. I love the names. Okay, it's just Kenneth Connor. You know him when you see his face. Then we've got Charles Hawtrey playing Private Golightly. Another regular. What an actor. What a character. His name Golightly. It just becomes, these names are just so wonderful the way they did them. Then we've got the wonderful Kenneth Williams playing Private Bailey. He seems perhaps a bit more restrained in this film, but it's still very much Kenneth Williams as we come to love and know him. And he's there, he's great. I love it. Then we've got this wonderful figure of Hattie Jacques playing Captain Clark. Hattie Jacques, oh, wonderful. Not just also known in terms of Carry On films, she was also well known in terms of things like in Sykes, Eric Sykes' sister. That was a great success for the BBC in I think it's in the sort of early 70s period. Wonderful. And of course she's well known. She's got a wonderful sense of humour, and in the Carry On films she's always fantastic. She really is a larger than life figure, really, in saying that, yeah, fantastic. And then also, if you look, also you see Terry Scott, who played in quite a few Carry On films. He plays, it's not a very big role, but he's there, Sergeant Paddy O'Brien. Terry Scott, of course, became famous with June Whitfield in the Terry and June. Wonderful, stable situation comedy for the BBC in the 70s. It was just one of those things that you used to just see and watch. Yeah, but he's in this. It's great. So they're just some of the members of the cast I thought you'd like to know. I mean, the story basically is, it's national service, and this sergeant is retiring, the William Arnold character, and this is his last lot of recruits that he's going to train, and he has a bet saying that he'll win it this time. And of course, it looks like at the first thing when he sees them that they're all absolutely hopeless. He's got no chance of doing that, and it's a wonderful comic ingredients. There's so many things intertwined in the story. The story just wonderfully goes by. It's so funny. It's that era, and you just love it. You see something like this, and you think, wow, this is just great. So I'd say you can watch this anything. You can watch it on some rainy, sunny afternoon, rainy Sunday afternoon, a Sunday afternoon. Oh, you can watch it any time on bank holidays, as you say. But there's something very sort of unique British kind of something about this film, that era. It's a bygone age, but yet you can still relate to it. It's still got something there, just it's because the characters, the actors involved are so good, and we have that British sense of humour. It's there. It's another great strand in British cinema. We've talked about in so many of my me rambling on about British cinema, and it's another aspect which does in some ways link up with the Hammer stuff. Believe it or not, it's miles away from horror, you're saying, but some of the techniques used in these Hammer films, the way they were produced and everything, is all linked up, and it proves that we again add our own British cinema. Obviously something like this is not going to really travel to a lot of other countries. It's just seen more as a quaint thing. It's not Hollywood, but it's good to actually show British cinema at its best. It really is. If you have not seen this film, I'm sure a lot of you have, then, get a chance. It's always on the TV sometime or other. Or, as I'm going to show you, you can get it on a DVD box set like this. Incidentally, the quality is really good. I know this probably will. There is already some movement that these films will get Blu-ray release, but this is really good. This box set, fantastic box set with all these films in. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's great. It's brilliant. As it says here, over 13 hours of fun. 13 hours in a box set of all these films. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And, well, yes, it's good. But you can still see them, over time, all these films. Obviously, there are some in the series that weren't quite as good, and certainly towards the end, some of them just didn't quite hit the song. They almost become very unfashionable in some ways. Times had overtaken them. But it's funny because as years have gone by, we're looking back now more fondly on them, and we're wondering how on earth they got away with some of this. I mean, this particular one, the Carry On Sergeant, is not massively had any problems with the censorship. There were one or two things, because the U certificates and what have you. But of course, as the series went on, they were able to get away with a lot more innuendos, which got through the censors, or they had to be, they still had to be careful about certain censorship things. But yeah, it's all there. I know. I could just go. There's something you can just talk about. But yeah, so I'd recommend that if you really want in your collection. But as I say, you can probably catch them in various forms anywhere, looking around. That's it. Yeah. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a change. We're talking about comedy, isn't it? Whereas yes, actually talking about comedy. And I might review some more of these, definitely. I just fancied doing this one because it's the beginning of this whole series, and it's just interesting to look at. The format changed a bit, but this was where it all began, and that's fascinating, isn't it? Yeah. Right, so if you're interested, please subscribe, and we'll let you know when I produce these videos. And if you like it, please give it a like. It helps with algorithms and people and all that stuff. And it costs note. All this costs notes. And if you want to put any comments, put some comments down. Great. Yes. Okay, it's not horror and sci-fi, but I do all sorts. I do other things as well. There we are. Okay, so all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.